Long ago, North Africa was home to the Berbers, or Amazigh. They were farmers, traders, and warriors. But then something changed. A new force arrived. The Arabs, bringing with them Islam, a new language, and a way of life that would forever alter the region. What followed wasn't just about battles or takeovers. It was about two worlds meeting, blending, and shaping something new. In this video, we'll uncover the story of the Berbers and how Arabization slowly transformed this ancient land. Who were the Berbers? Berbers' story dates back thousands of years, predating the Arab conquests and Roman legions. These are the Berbers, or Amazigh, which means free people or noble ones. The Berbers have lived in North Africa for ages, calling this region home from the Atlantic Ocean in Morocco to the desert oases of Libya. Long before Arabic was spoken here, the Berbers had their own language, Tamazight, and their own writing system, Tifinagh, one of the oldest in the world. Their culture was rich and vibrant, with skilled artisans crafting beautiful textiles, jewelry, and pottery inspired by nature and spirituality. They lived in close-knit communities, where decisions were often made together, and women played key roles in preserving their traditions, stories, and songs. The Berbers were also famous for their trading skills, connecting the Mediterranean with sub-Saharan Africa. Their caravans carried salt, gold, and other treasures across the dangerous Sahara Desert, linking entire civilizations. But the Berbers weren't just traders, they were warriors too. One of their most legendary leaders was Queen Kahina, who fought to protect her people's way of life during the early Arab invasions. Before the Arabs arrived, the Berbers had already interacted with many civilizations. The Phoenicians built bustling trade cities like Carthage, and the Romans introduced roads and aqueducts. But no matter who came through, the Berbers held on to their identity. Today, the Berbers are still very much alive. Their language, traditions, and way of life continue in parts of North Africa. To truly understand how North Africa became Arabized, we first need to honor the legacy of the Berbers. Their story lays the foundation for everything that came after, shaping the Arab-Berber identity we see today. The arrival of Islam and the Arabs. The 7th century was a turning point for North Africa. When the Arabs arrived, they didn't just bring armies. They brought a new religion, Islam, and a way of life. This wasn't a quick or simple conquest. It was the start of a centuries-long transformation that intertwined the stories of the Arabs and Berbers. The Arab expansion under the Rashidun Caliphate brought Islam and armies to North Africa by the mid-640s. At first, the Berbers fiercely resisted. With their deep knowledge of North Africa's deserts, mountains, and rugged coastlines, they used guerrilla tactics to hold their ground. Leaders like Queen Kahina stood tall, leading their people against the invaders. But the Arabs had a unified purpose and strong strategies. After conquering Egypt, they used it as a base to push further into the Maghreb, the region that now includes Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco. Over decades, through a mix of battles and negotiations, the Arabs slowly overcame Berber resistance. What truly set this conquest apart wasn't just military might, it was the introduction of Islam. The new religion offered a message of equality, monotheism, and justice that resonated with many Berbers. Unlike previous conquerors, the Arabs brought a faith that crossed ethnic and social boundaries. Islam provided the Berbers with not only a spiritual connection, but also access to a vast and growing Islamic world. Conversion to Islam didn't happen overnight. It spread gradually through preaching, trade, and the building of mosques, which became community centers for learning and gathering. For many Berbers, Islam's principles allowed them to keep a sense of autonomy while embracing something larger than themselves. The blending of cultures didn't stop there. Arab settlers and Berbers intermarried, creating families that blurred the lines between the two groups. Trade routes, long controlled by Berbers, became pathways for cultural exchange. Still, not everyone embraced these changes without resistance. Some Berber tribes pushed back against Arab rule, leading to uprisings and splits within the Islamic community. Movements like the Kharijites gained traction among Berbers because they stood for equality and opposed Arab favoritism in governance. Despite the tension, the seeds of Arabization were planted. Islam became a unifying force, and over time, the Arabic language, customs, and systems of governance began to weave into the fabric of Berber society. This blending didn't erase Berber identity. It created a new, shared culture that would shape North Africa for generations. This was just the beginning of a transformation that touched everything: language, daily life, and even how people saw themselves. Before we dive into the next part of this journey, don't forget to like this video. It helps us bring you more fascinating stories like this. The process of Arabization. Arabization in North Africa did not happen overnight. It was a slow process that took hundreds of years, mixing language, religion, politics, and culture. When the Arabs came to North Africa, they brought Islam with them, and the Quran was written in Arabic. To follow the religion properly, people needed to learn Arabic. Mosques and schools taught the language, making it an important part of daily life. Arabic also became the language for government, trade, and laws. If Berbers wanted to work in cities or deal with the rulers, they had to speak Arabic. Over time, Arabic became a way to fit in with the dominant culture, especially in towns. But in faraway villages and mountain areas, many Berbers held on to their own language, Tamazight, and traditions. Religion played a big role in this change. At first, the Berbers resisted Arab rule, but many were drawn to Islam's ideas of fairness and community. By converting to Islam, they became part of a larger Muslim world that included people from all kinds of backgrounds. Learning Arabic for prayers and rituals brought them closer to the Arab Islamic culture. Some Berber scholars even traveled to places like Cairo and Baghdad to study and then returned home to share what they'd learned. Arab rulers also helped spread Arabic through their laws and systems. Dynasties like the Umayyads and Abbasids used Arabic for official work, and even Berber-led dynasties, like the Almoravids, used Arabic as the language of government and religion. Over time, Berber and Arab traditions mixed, creating a unique culture that combined the best of both. Arab settlers brought their clothing, food, and social habits, and Berbers adopted many of these. At the same time, Arabs in North Africa picked up Berber customs, leading to a shared way of life. Even in things like architecture, you can see this blend, like in the Great Mosque of Kairwa, which combines Berber craftsmanship with Arab design. Not everyone went along with these changes. Some Berbers fought back, wanting to keep their independence and traditions. Movements like the Kharijite revolt showed that many were unhappy with Arab dominance. In the end, most Berbers adopted Arabic and Islam, but they didn't lose their Amazigh roots. Today, North Africa reflects this mix of cultures, where Arabic and Berber identities live side by side, showing the history of how people adapted and blended over centuries. Legacy of Amazigh. Despite centuries of influence, the Berbers, also known as Amazigh, have shown incredible strength in keeping their identity alive. Instead of losing their culture, they combined old traditions with new influences, holding on to what mattered most. Even after military conquests, Berbers resisted Arab control, with groups like the Kharijites finding support among them for their shared values of equality and independence. The Amazigh language, Tamazight, survived in remote areas, passed down orally through generations. It became a key part of their identity. Recently, there's been a revival of the Tifinagh script, one of the oldest writing systems in the world, appearing on flags, signs, and in schools. Storytelling, music, and art have been powerful tools for keeping Berber culture alive, especially when written records were lost. During the peak of Arabization, Berber dynasties like the Almoravids and Almohads rose to power, promoting Islamic values while celebrating Berber traditions. This ensured their culture had a place in history. In modern times, Berbers have faced challenges like language suppression under regimes pushing for Arab unity. Yet, these hardships only strengthened their determination to preserve their heritage. The 20th century saw a rise in Amazigh pride. Movements in Morocco, Algeria, and Libya fought for the recognition of Tamazight as an official language and the protection of their culture. The Amazigh flag, with its blue, green, yellow stripes and red Tifinagh Z, became a symbol of unity and resistance. These efforts led to victories, such as Tamazight gaining official language status in Morocco and Algeria, highlighting the resilience of Berber identity. Today, Amazigh culture is thriving. Festivals celebrating their music, art, and traditions draw people from around the world. Social media has become a powerful way for Berbers to share their history and inspire younger generations. Arabization deeply influenced North Africa, affecting its culture, politics, and society. While Pan-Arabism in the 20th century emphasized Arab unity, it often overshadowed indigenous cultures like the Amazigh. Arabic remains dominant, partly due to its connection to Islam, but this has led to protests over policies favoring Arabic over Tamazight, especially in schools. Activists push for greater recognition of Tamazight and investment in Berber-majority regions. Today, many North Africans embrace both their Arab and Amazigh heritage, recognizing the shared history that unites them. As governments take steps to include Tamazight in schools and public life, there's growing hope for a future that balances unity with diversity. What part of this story surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more fascinating stories. Click on the next video and I'll see you there.